famous clip is from Mickey Mouse's grand debut in 1928 in the animated short Steamboat Willie. The rest, as they say, is history. Now, I bet when you think of a business leader who struggled with failure, Walt Disney may not be the first name to come to mind. After all, the Walt Disney Company is one of the largest media and entertainment companies in the world, with a market cap in excess of $320 billion, and their brands have touched nearly everyone's life in some way or another. But success didn't come easy for Walt, and in fact, he was dealt some pretty serious blows in the early days of the company. In 1954, reflecting on the success of the company, Walt famously said,
"I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse."
Now, while it is true that Mickey Mouse represented a huge turning point in the history of the Walt Disney Company, Mickey's creation came on the heels of one of the biggest failures in Walt's young career, the loss of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. In 1927, Walt Disney was hired by Universal Pictures to create and produce a series of short animated films featuring a lucky rabbit named Oswald, who was created by Walt and his most trusted animator, Ub Iwerks. Things were going really well with Oswald's series, so in the spring of 1928, Walt traveled to New York to negotiate a more profitable contract with Universal. Unfortunately for Walt, Universal thought he should take a 20% cut due to the economy in the United States, and Walt was not having it. Walt and Universal reached an impasse, and it was then that he realized he had signed away the ownership rights of Oswald to Universal when he inked the original distribution deal. With no new contract in place, Walt was removed from the project, and Universal hired all of his animators but one, his friend Ub. Walt was crushed. He boarded the train back to Southern California, knowing he just lost everything. For most people, being dealt with such a failure of this magnitude would be enough to throw in the towel, but not Walt Disney. Back at the studios on Hyperion Boulevard, Walt and Ub went to work and created a new character, a little mouse that bore an uncanny resemblance to Oswald, and they named him Mortimer. Now, the legend goes, though, Walt's wife Lillian hated the name and convinced them to change the name to Mickey. As real estate agents, we are faced with dealing with failures every day. Visiting a FSBO to have the door slammed in our face, calling expired to be cussed out and hung up on, having a closing fall apart through no fault of our own at the very last minute. In a business where we only get paid when we get a deal closed, it can be downright disheartening and discouraging. For many, it becomes a real struggle to face failures and leverage them to move forward, but that is what we must do. I encourage you to celebrate every failure, knowing that you are one step closer to success. Think about what our world would be like if Walt Disney had given up on that train ride back to Southern California, instead of using it to fuel and motivate himself for the next thing. Keep knocking on those FSBO doors. Keep calling the expireds. Keep calling those internet leads. Never let the no's get you down, and never let them beat you. Success could be waiting at the next door or on the next call.